Hey, Robin, today I'm not thinking of you as a regular guest, all right? I'm thinking of you as a guest co-host.
Okay.
That's because this is the third time you've been on the podcast, and I was looking back this morning when. So the first time was October 2019. The second time was October 2020. And now as we're recording it, September 2021. So it's like becoming an annual event.
Yeah, okay. It takes me a year to think of 30 minutes of content.
Or you're just the co-host who turns up very seldom.
Yeah, okay.
Too busy doing other things. Are you still working on the same thing as when we first chatted 2 years ago?
So 2 years ago, I was working on Blue Cat reports, and we were just getting, I think I was going through the beta process with a lot of users and doing onboarding tests and this kind of thing. And we launched that early last year. We're still working on that now. We're working on another product at the moment. October seems to be when we launch new products. So we're working on the beta process for something called Blue Cat Forms, which is like forms for Trello, which there's not a good solution for at the moment, it seems. So we were like, cool, but still largely working on the same thing, which is like Trello ecosystem, add-ons, power-ups, yeah.
I love the names of your products because they're so honest. Let's face it, most of us running B2B SaaSes, all we do are reports and forms. We like to give them like nice names and come up with some great descriptions. But honestly, we could just say, hey, our SaaS gives you reports and it gives you forms.
Yeah. Have I run out of product ideas? And if I've done both of those, is that it? Time to...
Oh, I don't know what you do next. Yeah, but maybe you can do Reports Pro and Forms Pro, Reports Plus and Forms Plus.
Yeah, true.
There's endless ideas there.
Yeah.
So let's do a full introduction. Ked, remind us who you are and what you do.
Robin Warren. I'm at Robin Warren on Twitter. If anyone wants to find me, I build add-ons or power-ups, they're called, in the Trello ecosystem for Trello. I've been doing that for 6.5 years, which is easy to remember because it's the same age as my first daughter, which is when I started doing all of this stuff. Yeah, that's it. So a few years back when I first came on, I think I would have had a team of 2.5 developers then. That was to get something out the door. So we're down to 1.5 now and 1/4 of a support person. And that's been consistent for the last year now. And that's probably how the team's going to be for a little bit, I think.
Nice.
Yes.
Manageable. Is the business earning significantly more revenue compared to 2 years ago?
It is, yeah. So briefly after that, after losing that sort of one extra developer, we hit break even. So I built quite a bit of money up in the business, invested it in building this new product. And then when we'd got to the point we needed to with that, and my other developer wanted to leave to go and work on his own business anyway, that made sense. And we've hit break even. And now we're, above break even basically on that team size. Yeah, I don't want to go below break even. I don't even want to go below making decent money again. I think the sort of early years of the business, obviously at first you're losing money. And then you get to break even. And then briefly after that, I started hiring and constantly dipping under breaking even and getting back up. But I think at some point those hopefully dip down, but not below your, I made the same amount of money as I spent this month kind of number. Yeah.
How did you feel when you actually hired more people and you had more money going out than you were earning and you were dipping into savings?
The first time I did it, I ended up having to part ways with that developer, who's one of the guys who came back and worked for me on this second project, actually. And that was really painful because, I just hadn't planned for it, really. And I thought it was going to turn around, and I was trying to do a load of stuff and ended up not paying myself for 2 months and then having to say to this guy, look, I need to give you sort of a month's notice. But then once he'd gone, I felt this great sense of relief because I was making money again. And I didn't have anyone to manage when I went in that morning. I remember walking down, it was a beautiful spring morning in Bristol, and I was just walking down the road. And it was nice and clear, and everything was just it was just me sitting down coding for the morning and answering support requests. And the business was still quite small then, so it was all manageable by one person. So that was quite nice. Getting people in it's good because they do better work than me, and they're just focused on one thing and doing that thing. So that's good. Occasionally, you look at the numbers of how much money goes out every month, and you sort of realize it's quite a lot of money. But then I try to look at how much money's left over every month rather. It's a easier number to look at.
Yeah, it's hard to manage the mental state when you see such large numbers. Numbers normal people, non-entrepreneurs just aren't used to thinking about.
Yes, which are just booked in to disappear every month, regardless. How many people you got on your team now?
You know what? I can't even answer off the top of my head. A half-time Java developer, my designer's down to just a few hours a week, bookkeeper/support person, and myself, and I'm sure I've forgotten somebody. Yeah, we've actually gone down a little bit, and that wasn't by plan. So back in, was it June, I think, The guy who'd been working with me almost since I started Feature Upvote for 3 days a week, he quit. And I talked about it in a previous episode. And that's because his client he worked for the other time of the part of the week wanted him full time and made him like this superb offer, such a good offer. He would have been a fool not to take it. And I had the same feeling as you described. Like at first, I was a little bit stressed about him going, but then I realized now the business is solidly profitable. And I felt like the stress level going down because there was less of us. Okay, we're getting less done. I have to do more myself or things just take longer, but it's okay. The business is working and working well.
Yeah. There's what you need to do for the business, and then there's what you feel you need to do for the business to stay competitive, to move at a certain pace. And there's certain businesses obviously need to move at a ridiculous pace, and you've got to have 500 engineers working on self-driving cars or something like this. But for a bootstrap business, I feel sometimes you can risk like resting on your laurels, and the business will probably be all right. But then this is some of the stress I've had this year is more competitors coming along into the Trello marketplace, resourced, and me thinking, is our little team of 2.5, 3.5 really enough people to handle this? Or should I be plowing more money into it and trying to go faster? But I think sometimes that's just the stress you put on yourself you want to do all of the feature list now rather than gradually over the next 7 years.
We often have this feeling that if we're not keeping up with competitors, then there's no room for us. And the fact is, very few of us are in businesses that actually can only have one incumbent. There's actually room for dozens of businesses often. I don't know about the Trello ecosystem, but like my business, feature request tracking, there are so many companies doing what we're doing. And I'm sure a significant amount of them actually make reasonable money. But yet when I see a new one come and they're bragging about how they get $1,000 MRR in a month, or now they're at 10K, or now they're at $1 million per year, I do get this kind of sinking sensation inside thinking like, oh no, I'm losing. Like, my business is doomed because I'm not keeping up. And I think it's unhealthy always to be comparing myself to people when there's room for all of us.
I wonder if that ever passes, or you always get that feeling and then you just have to stoically move past it as you get sort of more experienced. I don't know.
When somebody says their revenue, a competitor says their revenue is $10,000 per month or $1 million per year, they're talking revenue, not profit. And they could be running close to the bone or losing money, significant amount of money. And if so, then I don't want to compete with a company who's trying to lose money faster than I'm trying to lose money. It's not healthy to pay too much attention to people bragging about their revenue.
Yeah. Interesting to go and have a look at what they're doing and see if you can get some ideas. But ultimately, look at your own numbers. And if your numbers haven't gone down as their numbers went up, then, like you say, there's enough space for everyone.
The Trello ecosystem, is that something that's a big risk to your business, that one day it might suddenly end or go in a new direction?
I think the idea that it might end went away when they were bought by Atlassian, because Atlassian's quite big on their ecosystem. And that was when I saw Trello getting a lot more interested in third parties building on the ecosystem rather than, I don't know, your shell and you've bought like a bazillion licenses for Trello and now we're going to teach your engineers how to build your own custom integrations. That was what they were investing the time in with the ecosystem before, whereas me building on it wasn't really getting much of a look in with their team. And that kind of changed gradually before Atlassian and then definitely after that. So I don't think it's going to go, and I think it's getting stronger and stronger, really. But there's always risks that Trello could come along. They released a load of reporting features end of last year and the start of this year, which in a lot of ways are directly competitive to what I'd just spent all of my company's spare cash and 2 years building, and they could well improve on that. The features or add-ons that I built, they could ultimately directly compete with if they felt that was the right thing to do for their customers. So yeah, there is a risk there, but I think if you build with some kind of a view to building things that aren't obvious features that they should build, or you build them to a level of quality that goes like with the reporting, as far as I can understand from chatting to people at Trello, they see what I'm doing as a level above what they would ever try to do. But that could change next year. They could find from their enterprise customers that they really want this, that, and the other. And they look and say, let's just put a team of 7 guys on it for a year and let's build something great. And then that's it. Mine's gone. So there's no guarantee ever.
Okay. I can just tell you that Atlassian is incapable of getting something of a high quality and high feature set out in a year. They're just incapable. They're that size of company where these things just can't happen. As a regular user of Atlassian products like Jira, I see how long it takes them just to change a button. Years sometimes. What I'd see is more of a risk is that they just change direction and you're left like without revenue coming in. So do you try to build up a nice kitty so that you do have resources to change direction if you need to?
Yeah, that is one of the things I'm working towards now. There's a kitty in the business now, but that and also a personal one, because I spent all my savings building a business, and then I got some more savings by my old company that I used to work for was sold, and I got a little bit of a windfall from that, which then immediately got plowed into the business. So all of the spare money we've made since then has gone. We moved house and things like this. It's all got consumed basically on day-to-day living. So me and the family sort of want to build up a bit of a cushion, and yeah, the business would be all right for some time if everything changed. But yeah, I don't see it changing that fast, really, the sort of the way that, even if Trello announced a huge change, they just changed all of their pricing model recently. But in amongst that, we actually sort of saw more signups than previous, even though they started severely limiting their free tier. So yeah, even if it completely turned about, there's still a lot of momentum. There's a lot of teams that were using Trello that would carry on using it, and they might tell me, oh, we're migrating off. And I get it sometimes, we're migrating to something else. And say, okay, do you want to cancel your contract? Oh, not for another 12 months because it's going to take that long to move. So you'd have a fair amount of warning, I think, to change tack. Yeah.
I like the idea that you do their reporting plus, which was a suggestion I made for you at the beginning. It could be your new product would be Blue Cat Reports Plus, but that's a really good model. I think some companies do this with Zapier. So Zapier has, for example, a way to import from emails. And I guess I had on the show a couple of years ago, their business does the same thing for Zapier as an integration, but basically the Zapier one is basic because Zapier just did it so they could say we have it.
Yeah.
But when people need something more complicated or more powerful, then that's where they step in. So in a way, Zapier's done them a favor by actually having the base level product.
Yeah. And if there's a solution out there as well, and this is an argument that people at Trello made to me, is if you've got a good solution for something, we'll have less people coming in asking for it because we'll tell them, go and install this power up, and then they're satisfied, and that's, the problem goes away. So there's an element there that Zapier maybe would have built a better email solution, but somebody else had already done it, which is easier for them. Then they can go and focus on other things, which will move the needle more for Zapier. So there's a small impact there, I think, from that side of stuff.
Nice. So let's talk about boredom. You've been working on this for a while. How do you keep interested? Are you staying interested, or have you got the point of getting quite bored working on Trello power-ups?
So when I was talking about that sort of first developer, when me and him parted ways, I was bored. I don't know, I was burned out. I don't think I've ever been bored in the last 6.5 years working on this stuff, but I have at times been burned out, and I was burned out then for like fairly obvious reasons. You're going through the financial stress and everything. So what I did then after he left, one of the first focuses really was just let's get the system really stable, because there was a lot of issues still and bugs and things like this, and not necessarily stuff customers were seeing, but server backend kind of issues. So let's get this super stable so I know that I can leave it for a day or 2 or 3 without an issue, something exploding. And because I'm just one guy on his own now, I need that. I can't have that eating my time up. So I did that, got all that sorted, and then I went to my mastermind group I was in at the time, and I said, I've got this idea for a new power-up I'm going to build, and I think I can build it in a couple of months. And it feels a little bit like shiny object syndrome. And they talked me into just doing it. They said, you don't know, it might go somewhere. It might be the next big thing, or it might not be. But also, like, why are you doing this if not so that you can give yourself a break like that every now and then? So I went off for sort of 2 months and built this new power-up that did all right. It was good. And some of the stuff I learned from that then went back into Corello and what have you. But that, I think, maybe that was boredom there, but I avoided it by just not doing it anymore for a bit, and then sort of came back to it a bit more refreshed after that. Yeah, and then this year the job's changed because I had a support person in January, so I was getting her up to speed. I was handing over a lot of the day-to-day technical operations to my lead developer. So that took a couple of months of regular meetings, and just the same as I did with onboarding the customer support person, get on the call for an hour a day, go through what I would do, and then after a few weeks of that, say, I'm available at this time every day if you want to chat about everything, but you start doing it now, and then blah, 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 handing everything over. So that took until Easter, I guess. And then after Easter, I was like, okay, I need to start doing some marketing because I've not done a lot for 6 years.
You've built a business over 6.5 years with very little marketing. That's magic. That's what us developers all want.
That's the upside of being on a sort of platform, isn't it? Or an ecosystem. There's the risk is yeah, you're building on someone else's ground, so they could take it away. But the benefit is not always, but Trello, um, at least in the early days, you could get quite good traction for a product. I think it was me, Dropbox, and something else for the first three third-party power-ups that launched, and there was only like, I don't know, sort of 13, 14 power-ups at the time. So it was, if anybody looked at power-ups, they saw your power-up, and they would probably give it a go if it was even remotely connected to anything they were interested in. Now there's, I don't know, over 100, maybe getting up to 200. It's a little bit more crowded, and it's not as easy to get traction. But with Corello, with the first product, that was where a lot of the traction came from, was right place, right time, with a product that was product market fit by the time they launched that.
Does
Yeah.
that longevity give you an advantage over the other power-ups in the way the marketplace is structured?
Yes, if anyone's looking at marketplaces, the thing to look for is how the listings are ordered when people are searching or browsing, what kind of trust markers they have in there, if they've got reviews and stuff like this. So the way they're ordered in Trelloland is random. It used to be alphabetical, but someone, not me, started putting a space at the start of their listing so that they would appear first. And then someone, might have been me, pointed us out to Trello and said, I can do the same, or maybe we change how they're ordered. So they started ordering them just randomly, which is slightly bonkers because sometimes like the worst power up in the world is the first in the listing when you go in to look at the reports, but slightly good because new power ups get as much of a shot at being number one as anyone else, and there's sort of 10,000 times someone looks for a power up that day. So the only sort of trust marker they've got though is the install count, and having been around for a longer time definitely helps with the install count. So that does help. Yeah, when somebody's looking for reporting, Corello will turn up as one of the more installed power-ups there just because I was first in, basically.
I guess if somebody's thinking of starting in the Trello power-up space, a really good strategy then is to go and buy an existing one just so they can keep that trust marker.
Yes, I saw one for sale on a MicroAcquire the other day, and you sort of there's a bunch of as you would expect with this sort of thing, developer weekend projects that's been abandoned. There's a few of us sort of power up developers chat, and one of them was trying to get in touch with another power up developer, and he was just like, I don't want to talk about anything to do with power ups. I just built it on a weekend from my degree course in Paris, and people keep on asking me questions about it. Why do you want to go leave me alone? It's because you've got 10,000 installs and these people want some support. I don't know. That's one of the other risks with marketplaces like that, is because the barrier to entry is relatively low, you can have these projects which are very minimal. So to come in with a very simple product and get any kind of traction is tricky because you're competing against 7 developers who build it in a weekend, and they might have built a rubbish version, but it's free because they couldn't work out billing, or because they can't be asked, or because they think everything should be free.
Everything should be free until they start getting support requests.
Yeah. That you need the moat basically between you and what the platform might build, and between you and what a committed developer could build in a week.
A lot of businesses we run fundamentally are quite simple things. Feature upvote is 5 or 6 database tables with a couple of pretty forms.
Yeah.
And there's nothing challenging about it. In terms of implementation, it's the business that's the tough thing to do. The marketing and support and sales and so on. Hey, Robin, you told me a few weeks ago that you were really cutting down your time over the summer. And in fact, you mentioned just while we were talking today that you've now got the support person and you're handing more things over to your developer. So did you do that? You managed to work just 1 day a week over the summer?
Yep, that's what I did.
Wow, how did that feel?
It was really good. I wouldn't do it exactly the same again in future, but I've always experimented with the summer holidays anyway, because I sort of want to spend more time with the family. And my wife doesn't work, so she's got plenty of time off, so we can go on holiday and do things together. But yeah, it was excellent. Having customer support person was the key difference from, say, last year. Obviously, 2020 summer was insane because we hadn't seen anyone, so we all isolated, and then we went to visit all the family members we thought we might not see until Christmas, or longer even. I think I didn't see my sister after that until it was half term earlier this year or something. So we had this sort of plan months in advance, 2020, what we were doing, and then I'd be back for 3 days work, 4 days work, then we're off traveling again, and then back again. But in amongst all of that, I had to do 30 minutes to an hour of support every day. And it could be, hey, I couldn't work out how to reset my password, or how does your pricing work? It's stuff that you want to reply to really quick because you want to keep people happy and buying your software, but stuff which is trivial to do. Or it could be, why isn't my data showing? And then everyone's dressed and ready to go to the beach downstairs, and you're like, I just need a bit more time, but I don't know how much longer, and I need to get some progress on this because I might need to kick some jobs off to run for the day whilst we're out or something. So that was tough last year, and is always tough. And everyone knows that when you're running the business and you're still doing the customer support. Yeah, you can disappear off for the afternoon and go down the beach if you feel like, or knock off early and pick your kids up from school. But also, you can't ever technically have a holiday because you're always on the hook to answer those emails. Yeah, whereas this year I could pretty reliably disappear for 2, maybe 3 days at a time without having to do much of anything. Often the stuff I needed to do, Aaron, my customer support person, would ping me and it would come up on my phone, and I'd just, when I had a minute with the kids after bath time or something, just go through and just see if, and often I could just answer her there on what needed to be done. And if not, then I'd hop on the next morning. So normally it was at least 3 days, I would say, between logging on and doing anything, and normally then it would still be a system that only I had access to, because her and my lead developer would sort everything out, and then I'd sort of hop on and do a little bit until my lead developer went on holiday for 3 weeks and Aaron got ill, and then everything got a bit harder again. But it was good to remember what the old times were like and how much I appreciate having these guys working for me. So that was a big difference. And anyone thinking about getting a customer support person, I definitely recommend it for that experience. It was great.
There's a whole lot of advantages for getting a support person, not just so that they do support, but also because it forces you to be far more systematic in the way you address customer inquiries. It forces you to get your docs to be better, to put in a proper system for managing support tickets and so on. Just all around makes a healthier business. And I guess you've now got a policy for how quickly you respond?
No.
Or what hours people can expect to get responses?
No. Okay. When you said policies, I was like, oh, have I missed a step here?
It can be as much as putting on your support page, we work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tinmouth time.
So Aaron's based in Canada on the East Coast. So I wanted somebody East Coast, United States time zone, specifically so that we'd have that cover in the evening. Because then when I see requests coming in the evening, I won't be tempted to go and look at them, because I think, well, actually, it's the afternoon for Aaron and she'll be on it. So that's it. Yeah, I think occasionally look at what the response times are, but they're roughly in line with what I'd like to see. She's on things pretty much within the day. Yeah, so we haven't put anything like that down. We don't have anything documented anywhere saying this is what we offer. It's just send us an email and you'll probably get a response soonish.
So just de facto policy switches you answer pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, we had Help Scout set up before that.
So next summer, will you do the same, or you're going to try and get yourself even more out of the business by next summer?
I don't think I would work less. There's stuff that wasn't great, which maybe you can't do anything about. So the 1 day a week I was doing would often be really admin heavy. It would be all the tedious stuff that you have to do, none of the interesting stuff. Occasionally I did 2 weeks at the start and I had 2 days on at the end of it. And the second day I actually got some interesting work done because I got all the admin done the day before. So that gets dull pretty fast. And when your only day a week of work is that, I don't know, it's better than 5 days a week of that, which is what some people are doing, I guess. But I don't exactly know what to do about that. I mean, whether I'm better doing 2 half days or 3 half days or something like that, or maybe say, okay, well, I'm going to work these 3 days in a row, but then I'm going to take 2 weeks off afterwards or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, there was a strong temptation to start working in the evening at points. I got to say, it took me 2 weeks to completely relax. A lot of founders I've talked to have had a bit of mental health issues at the start of this year. And I knew I wasn't feeling great, but it was only 2 weeks into that holiday that I stopped obsessively going through financial calculations as I went to bed at night. And I don't know how long I've been going through that. And my finances are fine, just for anyone who's financially dependent on me listening. The finances were fine, but for some reason, this is what I was doing every night going to bed. And it was not healthy. And 2 weeks into the holiday, I went to sleep and I didn't do that. And I woke up in the morning and I thought, that wasn't great, was it? And I'm sure everyone is struggling with it. The last 2 years have been pretty bonkers. But I think if you're a bootstrap founder, you've got an additional source of anxiety and stress in your life, which probably doesn't help. Yeah, if anyone out there is listening to this and thinking that they're maybe not feeling quite right and hasn't just done 6 weeks of 1 day a week, they should reach out to someone, I think, and try and work out what they can do, because it was good for me, but it took 2 weeks to even get to that stage. And I think it took me 4 weeks to not be tempted in the morning when the kids are playing, think, oh, I'll just quickly log on and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, to start thinking, oh, I'll go and sand down the door sill that needs painting, or I'll start thinking about house and family stuff.
It's so hard to switch off when you run your own business, and It's so hard to even take time in the morning. I'm guilty of getting up before my family and immediately looking at work email as if they can't wait until I've had a coffee and some breakfast.
Yeah.
But I look at them, and if sometimes I'll answer straight away, sometimes I'll just then have this stress in my mind that, oh no, there's that thing I saw that I have to get to, even though I've got something else planned for the first couple of hours of the morning.
When things are going well as well, it can be positive because you wake up in the morning and you check your phone and oh, I got 2 new sales last night, and I got an email back from that person saying, yeah, can we arrange a demo? It's when things aren't going so well and you're still in this mode of doing these calculations or checking emails all the time, and then you've got a habit that turns out to be a negative habit in that situation, basically.
So I have a policy of not having anything business on my phone. So I can't check work emails from my phone.
Wow.
I can't log into any systems. That was a conscious decision I made a few years ago, so that when I'm out and about, I have to just stop thinking about work. And
Yes.
but then I have the iPad, which if I've got my iPad handy, that has everything on it.
Yeah.
So I found a loophole in my own system.
Yeah. I sort of the other way around. I have everything available on my phone so that I can be out and about. So yeah, example, before the summer holidays, a couple of friends and me were going to walk from where we live up to and then walk back down another river. So we're going to walk up from Teignmouth and then down to Dartmouth. So it's about 35 kilometers, I think. And I was all up for setting off in the morning, but because other people have got jobs and boring stuff like this, we couldn't set off till lunchtime, which worked out well because at 10 a.m. in the morning, we did a deploy and some components were missing from the deploy, like entire libraries, because somebody somewhere else had changed the dependency and we weren't just building our machines ourselves and then deploying what we needed onto that. So that just destroyed everything. And if we'd done any deploys of any other of our products, because they're all in the same back end, that would have destroyed everything. So I messaged my lead developer. I had a quick look myself. We got to a point where him and our server admin guy were all agreed what the problem was. And then I went and met my wife and my mother-in-law and some other friends on the beach for a quick swim. I went back to check in. Everyone was all right in the office, went home, packed up and headed off on a walk. And then my friends complained every 30 minutes because I got my phone out and messaged people and checked how things were going. But ultimately, I didn't need to do anything. I was actually probably the worst person to be involved because I don't understand these systems particularly well anymore, and everyone else does, and I'd just be slowing them down by asking questions. And then,
But Robin, that's an excellent place to be in. That's an excellent place when you're not the one that is the only one who has the special knowledge.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and that was it. So, like previously, that would have been like, guys, I can't go on a walk.
Yeah.
It was like, guys, I can go on the walk. I'm just going to be slightly irritating. But then at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, I'll suddenly be very happy when everything's back up and running and I didn't have to do anything apart from walk up a river.
Of course, the key problem you have is that you made a deploy. Never deploy. Deploys, you can't have problems if you don't deploy. Deploys are when you get new problems.
Yep, very true.
If we go a week without a deploy, an error log or a notification system of errors, there's nothing in it. And then I think, oh, this is great. I'm just going to make this small change and do a new deploy. And suddenly I forgot something as part of the deploy and we have problems. So the lesson is never deploy.
There's that old saying in software, isn't there, that there's 2 things people hate. The way things they are now and change. And that's the problem. You've still got to deploy because, you'll get complaints either way.
So you work from an office you're renting. Tell me about that. Why don't you work from home? Surely it would be cheaper and better to work from home.
Yeah, I'm working from home today because my daughter was ill in the night, so no one slept, and we were waiting to find out whether she had COVID, which she didn't. But whilst that was going on, I thought I'd work from the house, and I've got a better view from my house. I've got a really nice view out to sea, view from my office. There is a view to sea, but it's from the other side of the office. I got a view out over the social club, so I get to see a load of fat English guys go in red in the sun, or whatever they do when it's raining. I'll find out when winter comes around. But my office is right by the sea as well, so I can just get out for a swim at lunchtime, which I can't do so easily from my house. So that's a benefit. There's other people in my office, but not a lot. But there is a few. And one of them put me onto one of the things I do now socially in Teignmouth. So I don't know if I would have done that if I hadn't got the office down there. The reason I got the office was I was moving to a new town and I wanted to meet some people. And I did, Also, getting out of the house means that you maintain a sort of base level of fitness of at least 30 minutes walking each day. So it's handy for that because otherwise it gets to the Wednesday and I realize I've not left the house yet. Yeah. It's vague, but it feels like I get some nice benefit from it. I moved in properly over summer, actually. Me and my wife went down on a spare day and put some IKEA furniture together, got all the books out of carrier bags and put them on the bookshelves, stuff like this. Whereas previously I was in this quite big room with just a desk, a computer, no chair, and a load of carrier bags with my sort of workbooks in on the floor.
So like a startup, first days of a startup type of office.
Oh, and my piano as well, my electric keyboard. Somewhere to keep that.
Oh, excellent. Do you actually play it in the office?
Yes. Yeah, not as much as I should.
Nice.
I need to get more practice in, but that's every person learning a musical instrument ever, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, but I like that it's there with you. So when you just need to take a break from emails and deploys that go wrong, you can turn around and tap the piano for a few minutes. Or
well, until recently, I didn't have a chair because I've got a standing desk. So if I got tired legs and I wanted to sit down, then I had to practice piano was the deal.
Uh-huh. Do you ever think to yourself that the money you're spending on the office would be better spent, say, towards your mortgage or towards having a better house or going into savings?
I guess so. I've not thought about it too much since I got that. I got an office in Bristol, but that was like a rent-a-desk, and I was one of the first people in, and I always paid annually, so I was on quite a good deal. So I wasn't paying a lot for that, but I had to have that because we didn't have spare space in the house for me to work until obviously the pandemic came along, and it turned out there was a small space on top of my daughter's bookcase I could work for 12 months. So who knew I could have saved 150 quid a month by just giving myself crippling back pain 2 years earlier. So I didn't really think about it too much when I moved down here because I wanted the sort of social getting out of the house aspect of it. We've got a garage here, which again has got a nice view. And I looked at the back of that and I was like, I could turn that into a nice little office and it'd be great. And I'd love it. And I really like working at home. I'm not one of these people who really needs to go to an office or have that walk around the block. I'm quite happy to just sit down, start work, get up from the desk, walk away. And I always enjoyed that. But I just knew I would spend my entire life in a house and then I would be 50 years old and I would not have made any friends in Teignmouth. And that wouldn't be a good place to be. So that's that work-life balance kind of stuff. Having an office and having a company pay for that helped. I think probably is helping me make friends and meet people in Teignmouth and forcing me to be in the town during the day. So I walk and go and hang out in cafes and get to know a few people. Yeah, so that was it. And whatever that cost, it was worth it. Having a private office felt like a bit of a reward as well, I think, for having a business that could just about afford it. It feels quite nice.
I like that as a reward. It's a great reward. Robin, I think that's all we have time for today. So thanks for being my co-host. It's been wonderful catching up. You said earlier on how people can get in touch with you on Twitter. Do you want to just repeat that?
Yeah, so I'm at Robin Warren on Twitter. If anyone wants to come and ask me anything.
Okay. So we'll be back soon with another episode of Bootstrapped. Until then, thanks for listening. Bye, everyone.